call it Cajun. You call it Cajun shrimp.
Playing hard, playing tough, just plain good is not good enough. We're gonna show you what league's all about. If there's a lesson to be learned, we're handing it out. This game is our game. This town is our town. Turn the heat up and listen to the crowd.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Naggy. I'm here as always with my co-host Liam McNeil, and I usually cut that song a bit shorter, but I thought we'll just let it out just a little bit longer because we're celebrating a win, Liam.
Let's enjoy it while we can. We're not only celebrating a win, Naggy, we're celebrating avoiding a mathematical possibility of finishing with the spoon.
Yes, hooray! I think we can even do a bit of no, I don't know, claps.
What sound do we got?
Claps? No, I don't know.
Now we'll go clapping.
Yeah, well done.
Well done. For the first time in 3 seasons, the Knights cannot receive the wooden spoon, which is quite something, quite an achievement.
And it was because it was even better because we celebrated this about 3 weeks ago. With the win against the Titans, I think we thought we were clear.
How wrong we were.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we fell back into contention. I don't think we ever left mathematical contention for the spoon. But then when it, 3 losses and we didn't look like we had Panthers, Sharks, and Dragons on the run home. We're like, hang on, we're not going to win another one here.
Oh, I didn't think that, Naggy.
Well, I might have had maybe just the 3 spoons echoing in my psyche and thinking, this is going to be another spoon. And then I start thinking 4 spoons in a row, and then I was like, hang on, we haven't gone up anywhere, even though we talked about Hilda about it last week, saying we've done better than we did last year and better than the year before, but to still get the spoon, it's just that, it's that stamp of disappointment.
That's it. The threat's always there, hanging over the head. It never goes away.
But it's away for another year. We can put that to bed. The no more spoon. Whether we finish, I think we can finish as high as 9th now, and as low as not the bottom. So, so that's the key. Hopefully, there's no salary cap dramas that's going to come up, and they'll be like, actually, you guys do go down the bottom.
Well, remember, we were almost in trouble of not spending enough of our salary cap earlier in the year.
Yeah, maybe there's some sort of infringement involved there. And they go, well,
Jesus.
you know what that means? You got to drop down 5 places. Oh, you're back at the bottom. And it's interesting because the Cowboys look like they're they could very well get it this year. And they only got saved from 2009, 10, whatever. Whenever the Melbourne Storm got their one handed down, they should have got the spoon that year. They only won 5 games. But they were saved by Melbourne getting 0 points. Unluckily, we never got Melbourne.
No. Of all the salary cap cheats, we're one of the few teams consistently in the running to come last to not benefit.
Yeah, we never got, and because that's what Ali ever remembers, because it's just like an Origin win. You know what I mean? Like everyone talks about, if only that penalty, and if they only went for that, and if this player was playing. But in the end, you only reflect back and go, we won that series, and then Queensland won a bunch more.
Well, was it the year that the Bulldogs got their points stripped and came last that we were second off the bottom?
No, that was 2002. 2002.
Oh my word,
yeah,
that was that long ago. Wow,
yeah, and then 2 years later they won the comp, and then and that's why everyone thought Parramatta was due to win the comp this year because 2 years ago they had their points stripped.
They did.
But not the case.
No.
Quite the opposite of the case,
Yes.
actually. Yeah, it was because instead of winning the comp,
they're also in contention to come
the
last.
Spoon, yeah. Well, they still could get it as well.
This spoon bowl's really heating up. I'm very excited to see what happens now that we're out, and I feel like I can enjoy the spoon bowl, which is not something I've been able to do in the last few years.
We're in this weird place because we're definitely not in contention for finals. There's not even but we're not in contention for the bottom. We're just in the middle.
Naggy, I suppose you could say we are in the doldrums. Doldrums, ladies and gentlemen, is our word of the week. Thank you for playing on. If you'll look to your screen, you'll find out what the word doldrums means.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're in.
Famously after Nobby Doldrums.
Yes, absolutely. Very famously, Nobby, one of this country's great media commentators and icons. Yeah.
That and Philip Quisp as well.
Philip Quist.
Those
two of my favourite media commentators.
Treasures. So you're with us in this.
Speaking of treasures.
Yeah.
The Newcastle Knights.
Oh, mate, I'll tell you what. It was exciting to see. Penrith Panthers, we go down there, Penrith Stadium. Obviously, they got the Cameron Ciraldo, former Knights player himself, as their head coach. And you think to yourself, oh, Christ, they've been able to put points on us. I think the last 3 games at least they played against us, they put more than 30. And it's just been so. And I thought we were the better team when we played them at home, even though not coming away with a win.
Yeah,
but
that game was terrible. That was a real stinker.
Well, we just thought, I remember even 2015, I think. Oh yeah, when we possibly could avoid the spoon, and then we had to beat Penrith in that last game, and that was a bit of a spoon off. and they flogged us. And that just stuck in my memory that I was like, oh, we're going to get flogged again. And then everyone's going to be like, all Knights probably going to get the spoon. And I'll tell you what, that would have been a 4th loss in a row. If we lose the last 6 games of the season, probably deserve the spoon. But we showed that we're not deserving of the spoon, Liam. We're different.
Isn't it wonderful?
We're different. Sorry, we've focused a lot about how we're not coming last, but it's a massive achievement.
Why wouldn't you focus on it?
Look,
what's not to focus about? Cheers to not coming last.
Cheers, ding dang. Cheers to everyone out there. We did it by not doing it again.
And it was a team effort. We've all been in this together as Knights fans.
Emotionally invested, crying into our pillows for years and years. But I tell you what, this is also coinciding with not getting the spoon and the Blues won the series. Isn't that just wonderful? It's just
what a time we're living in.
This is amazing. All Knights fans out there and also New South Wales fans, well done for not only supporting the team, but just supporting the sport, because you've had this disappointment of Knights coinciding with Blues just losing. So, but not anymore. Not anymore. We're still losing games, but we're just not losing.
Less of them.
Less of them. Now, 9 games now we've won of the season. There was talks of before the season, like what everyone would be happy with. I remember I said anything more than 10 would be a bonus. And if you think I'm making that up, you can look it up because we've recorded everything. That's the beauty of this. I was hoping for 10 or more. And now we're not quite there, but we're definitely in that realm. And it puts us in, around that same sort of spot we were, I think, in 2014, 2012, 2010. Just, and we don't look back at those seasons and see them as like drastic disappointment. So I think this season as well, we should take some solace in just knowing that we're just in that lower end of mediocrity.
Which is good, though. Again, like we said at the start of the year, again, you can go back and see this. We're not lying. We said that kind of a finish anywhere between 9th and 12th.
Yeah.
That is an improvement. That shows signs of the club getting better.
Yeah.
That shows signs of Nathan Brown's work coming to fruition. And look where we are, number 11, just inside that.
It's amazing what a few wins and a few, 2 more wins and suddenly we're talking finals. So it's amazing that separation of just a couple of wins, and that's why those games right in the middle of the seasons, which seem like you're not playing for anything, and it's like, oh well, we probably should have won that game. Like even the game against the Cowboys pretty recently, we're like, oh well, we probably should have that one, but we didn't. But there's been always next week. Those are the games that matter, not the games leading up to the finals, because you got to do all the work in the middle. We talk about
the Titans game as well. That's another one that should have won
at the start.
Didn't.
Yeah, at the start of the season, or around 8, I think. Last
Yeah.
game that Brock Lamb played for us ever, looks like.
More to come on that in the news later.
To come, but Liam, 20 points to 12. We almost held them to 1 try for the entirety of the game, only leaking that when we had 11 players on. More to come with that as well. What were your thoughts on the game, Liam?
I thought it was wonderful. It was a victory that I haven't seen from the Knights in years. Like, I'm not just talking going back through our spoon years. That was a victory that was built on defense. That was a victory where every player showed up in defense. Someone said in the post-match presser, I believe it was Mitch Pearce, he said, kept turning up for our boys on the inside.
Yes.
And it really showed, holding Penrith to 2 tries, one of which was off a kick chase, kick pressure. They, like Brownie again said in the presser, not a try they really deserved. But
No.
yeah, it was a victory that was built on the backs of a rock-solid defensive line and excellent scrambling defense. And I haven't seen that in years, and it buoyed my spirit.
Yeah, and it was one of those games where we found ourselves when Penrith were getting repeat sets, they were building pressure. They couldn't quite click. They had no James Maloney, but still having the New South Wales Origin half and fullback as well, like fullback playing Origin this year as well, and Tyrone Peachy. Some real class out there, and they still couldn't manage to get points on us.
And one of the best young forward packs in the comp, busting up through the middle, and just they didn't get through. And Penrith, while they were awful, I'll put it the way it is.
They were
bad. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
They still tried to throw a fair bit at us, but again, it was the defense that forced errors. We forced them into a sideways running game that doesn't really suit Penrith. There was no one straightening the attack, and it was just heartwarming to see the defensive line build a victory.
Yeah, and we crossed for 4 tries. Could have been a 5th one as well at the start there with Skidsy going over to a forward pass that I thought it marginally forward. I think if Sione runs with that ball, it looks backwards, but because he got hit directly as he passed the ball.
I watched the game again today. It was at least 3 meters forward.
Okay, I may be looking at some rose-coloured glasses,
Yeah.
but I was just thinking what could have been, but it doesn't matter because we got the 2 points on the ball.
And the funny thing, Naggy, we just discussed on the Joust a few weeks ago how the Knights are the best tacklers but the worst defenders.
yeah.
Now, this game went the opposite way. We had 45 missed tackles.
Yes.
And yet we won the game on our defense. We flipped the script, Naggy.
I think we got to throw all these. Obviously, that game especially, we lost every stat. Do you have the stats there that we lost? I think we lost.
No, there was too many. We
lost-
literally lost every facet of the stats.
We missed more tackles. We lost possession. We lost the possession battle, only having
68%. Oh, no, sorry. 68% completions.
completion.
Yeah,
So we lost the completion rate. They completed
possession,
more
we had
sets than us.
47%. They offloaded 15-5.
They ran more meters than us.
About 400 more meters. They topped every statistical category. But you know what? They sucked.
They sucked. They missed that last key stat of getting more points on the ball.
Could be, yeah. Wouldn't rule that out. But the other thing that went right, Nagy, Mitchell Pearce's kicking game, it was astounding. He kicked for 464 meters. There was a cyclone brewing out there in Penrith. The wind was going every which way. And yet Pearce consistently managed to find kind of land his kicks in between the Penrith goal line and their 10-metre line. He had some really nice little touch finders. He just controlled the game beautifully, and he got the Knights on the front foot with his kicking.
Which is excellent, because he's actually my hats off for this week is Mitchell Pearce, because I just thought, we really missed him without having him in the side. And that kicking, kicking back for the games that we've really not deserved to get the win walking into it. They losing all the stats, and you think, how do we do it? Is that kick direction, that kick for the sideline a lot, as you said, like with put us in a good position, let us get a few breaths back in the lungs, and then reevaluate the whole game. I think it was that game control that we've been missing.
The game manager that everyone talks about, that we at the Knights haven't understood since Andrew Johns left.
Yes, what does it
but
mean?
we have it back. 464 metres he kicked for. It was excellent. And he had plenty of pressure on him. Regan Campbell-Gillard was pressuring him very early, putting him on his back, but he got up every time. Yeah, it was wonderful.
It was good to see, and he was going up against Nathan Cleary, the guy that
took his job.
Took his job at the Blues. So he won the halves battle. He looked the better half. So it was good to see. Who's your hats off for this week?
My hats off. I've got I picked a number of them.
You've got 7.
I picked actually no, just 4.
Just
2
4.
hats off, 2 honourable mentions. Hats off goes to Dan Safidi. He had a really big game. 130 metres, 53 post contact, 2 tackle busts, 1 line break assist, and 1 offload. However, he did make 15 tackles for 5 misses. That wasn't great, but his work in attack was excellent.
It was good.
Honourable mentions, SKD, 123 metres run, a lot of them coming out of yardage, which he's been so good at, and 5 tackle busts. And another honourable mention is Kenny Kickoffs.
Yeah.
He's just been getting better and better. He had 111 run metres, 5 tackle busts, a line break, and a try. But something that Sterlo pointed out in his wrap of the weekend's action today.
He raps now?
He does. It's quite remarkable. He's got an album dropping very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Keep an eye out. Peter Sterling, Schnorkeller, as they call him, was that kick to put us ahead 20 points to 6. Now, Kenny, we love him, but as Sterlo said, he's not an elite goal kicker. He's not one of your 80% goal kickers. He had one on the sideline to convert his own try to put us 3 scores ahead into the wind, against the wind. I don't know, the wind was going everywhere, and he just nailed it. So I think Kenny's really starting to grow a bit of confidence and become the player that we thought he could be. So honourable mention to SKD and Kenny, but the major hats off for this week. I wanted to come up with a new category for it because it was wonderful, but I couldn't think of anything. It was Aiden Huera, the man from last week who also got it. He had an outstanding game. 104 metres run, 3 tackle busts, a line break, 44 tackles, and a try. He was inspirational.
He was, and he's been playing really well. He's really stepped up in a team that is not playing for finals, and like most of his career, he's playing for finals at this time. And he's 30. He's on. He could very easily. He's done enough of the season to be like, well, you're still part of the leadership squad, part of this. You're the captain when people aren't there. So it's. What is he trying to step up for? But he just consistently plays well. That competitive nature in him, that Italian fire.
The Italian stallion, I suppose you'd call him.
Yes, yeah.
Because there's no other words that rhyme with Italian.
Italian. We'll get back to you on that one.
Mammalian. He's definitely a mammal.
Yeah.
So we can confirm
the Italian alien. Is he from this world? We're not sure.
We don't know. No one knows.
He's 30 Earth years old, and so it was great to see him that he's still putting absolutely everything into to his efforts with the club, and I'm really glad that we signed him. He's up there with one of the best signings. All our signings this year have stepped up at numerous times.
They have. Given the injuries we've had on our key signings, I feel like at various points through the year they've all shown the value we can get from them.
Except maybe Jacob Lilliman.
I know you've got the axe to grind with Jacob, but even he's given little bits and pieces here and there that shows what he can do.
Can you give a hat back on for this game?
Nope,
Liam?
cancel it. No, everyone. Even Josh King, I kept a close eye on Josh King. In attack, he offered nothing.
There were, yes.
But in defence, 28 tackles for only one miss.
One miss, yes. I posted earlier that it was no misses. 28 tackles for no misses. 28 tackles off the bench in 35 minutes is huge.
That's really quite something.
It's huge.
He put out his usual 15 running meters, but yeah, his defence really improved this week.
Yeah, like we were put under a lot of defensive pressure and on the line as well, inside our own 20, and obviously he did enough, missing only one out of the 28, which is it's just it's a big feat. He needs to do more. He's still underdone as far as a first grader. We're not saying keep Josh King in the side, but we're saying that just lay off him because he didn't absolutely fall to bits.
Yeah, relax.
He just
leave Josh King alone.
Yeah, leave. It was such an interesting game at Penrith. It really, it was. I went into that game thinking, that it was just going to be another whitewash. I thought I was almost just accepting for the fact that it was going to be, and it wasn't, which is pretty good.
I was quietly confident. Just quietly.
Just quietly.
Yeah.
What do you think? As far so we lost the stats battle. It was a big game as far as especially for Penrith as well. Penrith were coming into this game. Cameron Ciraldo being the form thing. They're looking at a final spot, but then they also just capitulated as well.
They did, which is interesting because Penrith have become so well known from their come from behind victories, which at the start of the year they were over high ranking teams. Your Souths, I think they took the Roosters out, but then the last few comebacks, if you look back through who it is, they're all lower 8 teams. So they had the great one against Canberra, which was very, very good. But then
Manly.
The Titans.
Manly.
It's like, these aren't teams that are very good. But it also worried me because these are teams kind of fighting for the same positions we are. So I thought, well, if Penrith are to do such a thing again, likely it will be against us. But the defensive resolve of the fellas, the 17 fellas out there in red and blue, ensured that didn't happen.
I think it was just there was key moments in that game where the Penrith could have come back right back at half time as well. But we turned them away, and I think that's the effort that everyone wanted to see. We showed a similar defensive effort against Brisbane earlier in the season. We showed that same sort of against the Roosters. I remember at home there, and we only went down by 2 points. I don't think anyone minds, in a season where those games where they don't go our way, like the Roosters. But it's showing that effort's there, and it's not just absolutely throwing the game away with silly errors. Players like Corey Dennis making 3 one-on-one tackles in key times.
He was solid. That left edge, the CO Dennis straight, as we've widely called it.
Yeah,
they were solid. They really stepped up, and I think having Pearce defending inside. Oh no, it was Ponga defending on that side.
It was something around then.
Anyway, something happened on that side that just worked. But the other thing that really interested me was that the Knights have had a certain game plan all year that hasn't really panned out as they'd hoped, but it's very much a game plan of attacking the tram line. So between the sideline and your 20-metre line. But this game, it paid off massively. All our tries were down that area. The middle we kind of avoided because the Panthers can really dominate you in the middle with their huge middles. But we worked the tram lines. We worked down the edges with Kalen Pong and Mitchell Pearce, spreading the ball side to side, and that's where all our tries came. And it's a game plan that Brownie's been getting the Knights to use for quite a while, but because of errors and inconsistencies in the side, hasn't really come off yet. But despite all the errors and losing all the stats categories, I thought that was the best example this year of Brownie's game plan coming to fruition. Yeah. And for me, that Sione Matautia try, that was just rugby league poetry in its purest form. It was just stunning. There was quick hands, there was hard, straight running, and what was the third thing I wrote there? Sorry, I'll read it off here. Hard running, straight lines, and soft hands.
Soft hands.
It's the most beautiful thing that you can see on a rugby league field.
Because usually we have soft running and hard hands.
Yes, but we didn't this time. We inversed those.
Yes, that's the thing that was missing. I remember listening to, I think it was the Honey Badger on The Bachelor, which I've been watching this season, as I think most Australians have. It's beautiful trash television.
I haven't, although I love the Honey Badger.
The Badger, they're calling him as well. Very clever out there. Very clever. But he said an important thing that really resonated with me. He says, thing that my dad always used to say is that you can run through anything if you hit it at pace. And that's when I saw that Sione try, I was like, that's almost like he's been watching The Bachelor too, which I'm almost certain he has. So it's a brilliant show.
Yeah, and he's a wonderful character, the Honey Badger. I love him to bits.
It is, and so Sione Matautia, a very own Honey Badger, but he's not quite a badger. He's more of a honey wombat. I'd describe him as. Maybe not honey involved.
I was thinking like a honey bilby. Oh no, he's too big to be bilby.
He's sort of stocky,
like a kangaroo. Have you ever seen a kangaroo when they flex?
Skidsy's like a kangaroo.
Sione's well built.
No, yeah, that's why he's like a wombat.
Yeah, good point.
Look,
wombats don't have the power though.
Have you seen them run? They're like
lightning. I have.
lightning.
It's adorable. I love a pet wombat. If anyone knows out there what criteria I need to fulfill to get a pet wombat,
But-
please send that in
To-
to the show.
Courtesy of the show.
Send it to Karen. She'll get the notes off to
Fax
me.
it right through to Karen. Speaking of Karen, we got to go coffee break. We'll be right back for the second half of the Joust. Stay with us.
Karen!
Where's that bitch?
Jeez, I don't know what Karen put in those coffees.
It's terrible, isn't it?
It's like mud.
Tell you after this season, we might have to give Karen a little tap on the shoulder.
Yeah.
She's getting old. She's 73 years old. You know.
She's got children now.
She does a wonderful job with that fax machine of hers, though. Liam, I think it might be time for the news. Huge news segment, Liam. We'll keep it very close to home, obviously, with our under-20s. Under-20s taking out the what was it? The minor
Premiership. Those not familiar with the Jersey Flag competition, it's the rebranded NYC, and the Knights have won it. So, good signs for the future for the club going forward.
It was great because obviously a reserve grade have struggled a bit this season with a change of coach, and they've got Cos Jason in there. As a bit of a caretaker coach, but they managed to get some wins. They won against the Warriors last week. How'd they go this year?
They
this week, sorry.
only went down to a sideline conversion on full time.
Well,
so it was a tight one against the Panthers, who are strong in reserve grade. So promising signs towards the end of the year by the reserve grade sign. And yeah, well done to the Jersey Flags. Coached
very
by
good.
Todd Lowry, Knights legend.
Just quick clap. That's all they get.
But a good clap.
Good
Quick
clap,
but
good
a good
clap.
one. But the next issue in the news, Nagy, fighting.
Yes.
Fighting has found its way back into the NRL. Now, I believe our producer, Elliot, we have a bit of a video of the fracas,
Yes.
as I'm going to call it, the fracas.
fracas.
There was a bit of a late shot from Bill Kickow, which Mitch Barnett didn't like, which is good that Mitch Barnett didn't like that.
Yeah.
I like that he didn't like it. And Kalen Ponga very obviously running away from the fight, as he said on Matty Johns. He didn't want to be a part of that.
No, it was too beautiful.
Oh, he is, and I don't want him being a part of that
I was
personally.
a little confused with what was happening because I could see all the players looking over, and then unsure, and then they're into it. This is the best fight we've seen in the NRL all year, which is fantastic.
Which is not saying much because they weren't great punches.
And then ching, there's Skidgy lands a good one. I think he lands the best one of. But you don't see this kind of Paul Barney's on the ground. I think who's that number 11 for
Bill
Penrith?
Kickow.
He's huge.
Big Billy Kickow, yeah. He was one of their danger men, but we really nullified him. And again, it's the punches, I think, that nullified him. It's
Actually, Bunny ends up on the ground twice in this fight.
he's really into the ground and pound.
I think, well, apparently, because Barney, when you've got someone holding you on the ground by your throat, and they get up and you think, I'm going to go him again, and then you end up on the ground again. It's Andrew Johns all over, from 1995.
See, I've never really been in a fight, so I don't quite know what I'd do in that situation.
The only fights I've ever been in, I've ended up on the ground numerous times.
I've stopped a number of fights.
Have you?
But sanctions have come out against these players, Nagy.
Yes.
But they're not bad ones. We've got Bill Kickow, aforementioned, Wonga Blake, Tyrone May, and Danny Levi have all received $1,100 fines, and SKD had his fine reduced to $750 after a discount for 7 years good on-field behaviour. So
Yeah.
never had any problems with the judiciary. So his sentence, if you're going to call it that, his financial recompense has been reduced. So
Was
good on
less-
Sean.
No suspensions, though.
No suspensions, which I like.
They purely attacked their pocket. But at the same time, it's funny also that Skidsy got off for pretty much good behaviour when effectively off the field he's got bad behaviour. So so it's good that
But
it
he's
was on the
amending
field.
that, which is good.
Oh look, we love Skidsy here.
We do. He's
but-
one of our favourites on the show.
but it was good to see. But I don't know. It was if we lost that game, it would have been Penrith should have. Cameron Serrato has to come out and say, boys, where was that kind of aggression when you were attacking the line?
Exactly.
But,
Exactly.
Coming away with the penalty, so as far as the rugby league gods, they sell the fighters. It was all Penrith. It was just the Nazis of the NRL.
It's like they say, you can take the boy out of Penrith, but you can't take Penrith out of the boy.
Yeah, no, they love a good biffo out
But
there.
the funniest thing to come out of that fight, Nagy, and I believe we've got a video of it up next, is that one Penrith fan, I use the word fan loosely, took matters into his own hands.
He
And-
thought he didn't like the decision at the time, so he thought, hang on a second, we've got a bit of footage up here of we got So here it is. So he gets the ball. Here from the kick, and then but Wooshka right on number 15, is it?
Which I believe is number 15. That was...
No, 13. Oh, is that Aiden Guerra?
Oh, Aiden Guerra. Our captain,
Boom.
well, lucky we gave him the hats off.
Yeah,
If
because
he
they
had a hat on, that could have gone terribly.
would have taken it clean off.
I personally found that hilarious because there's nothing funnier when you've got a ball in your hand
Yeah.
than just pegging it at someone. So I wasn't too upset about that, actually. I thought it was really funny.
You got to say, even though you got escorted from the field, he probably would, he's probably going to say, don't come back next week or whatever the case might be. Hell of an arm on him, you got to say.
That's it. I believe there's a few NFL teams scouting because that's accurate. But yeah, there's someone whose favourite pastimes is just pegging balls at people and having balls pegged at me in return. I'm all for it. But well done by Panthers security to have that particular person escorted swiftly, promptly, and without incident from the venue. Well done, Penrith. I guess the Penrith security kind of used to that now.
Yeah, they
Dealing
escort a
with
lot of people.
People like
They start with about 12,000 there. They finish with about 6.
dealing with those kind of people. There's mountain men.
Yeah.
It's mountain men.
How do you think that this is Penrith are going to take this? Obviously, like Gus Gould sacks the coach. They get one win. Now they've lost one. Let's say they lose the next 2. Is Gus going to say, I probably shouldn't have sacked the coach at this crucial time in the season? Or do you think he
doubling
will say,
down, he's sacking Cameron Serraldo.
his job's not safe, is it? So what does he do? Or does he say just like, I made the correct decision, but and now that it hasn't worked out, it's still the correct decision? Is that
Yes, exactly. I think what you're going to see is doubling down upon doubling down from Gus. It's just going to be, I was right.
Yeah.
But again, it's a kind of thing you got to see develop over a few years. If they miss the finals, it will be
It was
hilarious.
good to see that we got under their skin and just really annoyed them. I'll tell you another thing happened over the course of the weekend that to a team that we really don't like, and that's Manly.
Yes, we don't like them.
And that was that not only did they not get the result they wanted on the weekend, but they had how many people rock up to their game, Liam?
6,837 or something.
Less than 7,000. Now that was only because
They're terrible. It's
Yeah,
because they're
that
terrible.
was because they're terrible. But it was good to see because they it was another game in Manly that wasn't of that same sort of caliber, probably better playing caliber, arguably. But it was in the Shoot Shield.
The Battle of the Beaches.
Yeah.
Manly Marlins versus the Warringah Rats.
And didn't they flocked to that game? They got over that crowd at that game. And meanwhile, their first grade NRL side at Brookie at home. Apparently, there was even people like members of the club calling, admin staff of the club calling members saying, "Can you please come, please." Please come to the game, and they must have made about 6,000 calls.
Isn't it fun to see the dumpster fire that is currently Manly? Because they've obviously had their coach walk out. There's players threatening to walk out because of the coach
Yeah.
who has walked out. They're still training out of demountables.
They train inside the demountables.
Inside the demountables,
They
yeah.
don't have much space.
No, that shitty, cheap carpet's a better playing surface than Brookvale.
Trent Hodgkinson, a former Newcastle Knight and a former Manly player before he's currently in that side. Now, 10 years ago, he was in, and they said that he was quoted from Daily Cherry Evans to say that that not much has changed in those 10 years except the playing squad. So that's got to hurt. That's got to be bad for everyone involved in that club. And it just seems like they're falling to bits. And there's a big push for Tuvs to come back as well, which is interesting. I hope to see Tuvs come back because he was just fun to watch.
He was fun to watch and listen to.
Fun
to listen to.
He was just a maniac.
Yeah, he was.
But Manly's got these long stretches of having players that have, coaches that have been former players, and that's not the case at the moment.
Well, it's what everyone keeps saying. They say they need a Manly coach to bring back the Manly DNA. I think they just need a Manly coach because they're used to dealing with nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's Bobby Fulton left, and they've sort of vacuumed that whole club now.
Yeah.
So not physically.
Well, they can't afford the vacuum.
They can't afford no vacuum. There's been a power vacuum, not the physical vacuum.
Still using a dustpan and broom.
Yeah, and the demountables just have that damp smell to them at all. But then, sorry, Lamb, this is such a big news.
I've really enjoyed bagging Manly, but we must move on, Naggy. Now, Brock Lamb, as reported by Barry Toohey in Toohey's News on Saturday, looks to have signed with the Roosters.
Yes.
Now, Baz reports that the deal is virtually done. Friends of Brock Lamb have come out and said to Barry that he's very much looking forward to working under Cooper Cronk, learning a lot from Cooper Cronk, and essentially looks like he'll be coming in as a role of Cooper Cronk's understudy. So spending next year working with Luke Keary, playing reserve grade, and then filling the shoes of Cronk, which are some pretty big shoes to fill.
Yeah, well, not physically because Cronk's quite a small man, but metaphorically, it's he won't be actually wearing his boots.
They might do.
Maybe they'll share boots. Maybe that's the
Maybe
first
it's a good
part.
luck charm.
Might be the first part of mentoring. It's come at a really good time because obviously the Knights got a good win, and there's no calls for we should hold on to him. I think if we had Jack Cogger playing in that game and he didn't play so well, or we weren't talking about how the Ponga Watson,
Connor Watson.
the Ponga Watson.
God, wouldn't that be a player?
Yeah.
Combination of Kalen Ponga and Connor Watson.
If you could combine the two, maybe if they that wouldn't work because one needs to be a woman. Sorry, I watched Twins recently with not Twins. No, what's the other one? Yeah, Twins when they come in
with
half.
Danny DeVito
No,
and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
what's the other one around the babies? Junior.
3 Men and a Baby.
No, anyway, sorry.
Big with Tom Hanks.
No, anyway, sorry. If they could combine those two, that'd be something we should be working on. I wonder how they like Mooney and Brownie is with genetics.
Well,
Yeah, it's something they could. They got the whole off
you should
season.
be asking the people at Penrith. They've probably got a successful eugenics program, like those Nazis.
Bastards. But it was. This is the first time. I think everyone should just like pause and just think: do we want him to go? Is he going to be worth keeping around? Probably not. It does leave a bit of a gap for us as far as the halves cover. Cogger's going next year, no Lamb, so it will open up. We have to obviously sign someone or find someone emerging. It doesn't look like there was one in our current stocks. So it's sad to see Brock leave, but he hasn't played since that Titans game where he fractured his cheekbone. Never got another run. Brownie seems to have lost a bit of. He was always, start of the season he was
the man.
He was the number one fan. He had him on the bench and just brought him on the last 20 minutes as almost like a Connor Watson-esque, like at the Roosters, and just. But it wasn't a sustainable thing, and he got a smaller window than probably Cogger did. But it just didn't work. Maybe it didn't work with the gelled well with Pierce. I don't know.
Who knows?
We're not there. We can only speculate.
One thing I forgot to include in the news is that also Brock Lamb was stood down from playing reserve grade this week.
Oh yeah, because he
was one of 5 players who missed curfew. Now the Knights reported very strongly that there was no drunken behaviour.
Yeah,
it was just that they were late.
Yeah,
still not a good look.
Not a good look. That was over.
It was over in New Zealand after their ISP game. They celebrated a bit, and apparently were a bit late coming home.
I think
because they had a morning flight.
Without context of how late the curfew was, it's gonna be interesting. It's hard to pass judgment. If it was at 11, you're like, oh, they could probably stay. Or was it like 2, and they were out till 3? But they knew the rules, and I think it's good from Kosh Jason to be firm and actually drop these players.
That's it. It's a good, strong culture move, which I like.
Sam Stone was another one as well.
Sam Stone was another one.
If we're going to be like
Matt Allwood was another one. A few of them were kind of your part timers who are still working jobs and playing football.
If you're going to be really if you really want to build that culture of we're not mucking around anymore here in Newcastle, we're not celebrating grand finals and then pretty much blowing right into the next season still hungover. So if you really want to be no, while you're playing for the club, you're an employee of the club, and you have to you can't flog off work early, so in anyone's job and without repercussions. So you have to set by the rules, and these guys are young players, and they're somewhat pseudo celebrities around, especially maybe not New Zealand, but it's you got to keep them within boundaries. So
that's it. You have to treat them like children.
Yeah, treat them like children. Give them a curfew and a big smack on the bottom if they're not doing what they're told.
So smack on the bottom for you 5 boys, but learn from it. Use it as a learning tool and learn from it. Next item in the news, and just be wary with this one. It comes from the Mole. He's generally known to be wrong about most things.
Yeah.
Apparently, Hymel Hunt is set to join the Knights from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, Hymel Hunt, for those that don't know, is outside back, centre winger, very much a depth signing, but he's shown at the Rabbitohs that as a depth signing, he can be quite good. Yeah. So I think that'll be a good pickup if we manage to get Hymel.
I think I've been
I
watching.
think he's Carmichael Hunt's cousin or something.
Oh, really? There's lots of families involved in the rugby league. It's going to be good to see. Obviously, he's an outside back. He's playing well for South at the moment. He's scoring tries. He's been sort of a consistent, quiet performer, I think, out in the wing there. Younger fella. I think it'd be good to have him in Newcastle. I think he's got a good opportunity there with our ageing outside backs, as well as a few players like Corey Dennis who won't be there next year, probably not. As a bit of cover, he's got an opportunity to come to this side and really stamp it as his own.
That's another news item I forgot as well. Corey Dennis has rejected a contract extension. Oh no, we talked about that last week.
I think we talked about it last week.
Yes.
But it's I think it'd be good to see him around Newcastle, see him down Newey Beach.
Also, who doesn't want a bloke in your team named Hymel?
Hymel. So it sounds a bit Penrith, doesn't it? A bit Hymel. Yeah. I think it'd be good to see him around Newcastle, see him down Newey Beach, Newcastle, maybe at the Commonwealth Hotel. We might run into Hymel Hunt.
He could be in for a bit of dinner at the Commonwealth, we hope.
I tell you what, it's a wonderful venue, that Commonwealth Hotel.
Absolutely, it is.
It's fantastic. And, we saw that fight earlier. I tell you what, you don't see fights. the Commonwealth Hotel. It's a real family venue.
It's a good, welcoming family venue.
It's
the
a
Commonwealth.
place to take your kids. It's a real, just wholesome atmosphere.
It is.
It's fantastic. I can't speak enough. I don't think we've ever spoke well about the Commie before. But I'm just going to mention it just on tonight's show.
I figure we should sneak it in.
We should sneak it in just
because we haven't
here.
really discussed it much.
We haven't really covered it.
And last item for the news, Naggy. Now, this one came to my attention because it's a bit of a humorous news item. Reece Martin, we've got a bit of a video up here. Elliot, if you could bring that up. Reece Martin ran on for the Bulldogs in ISP. We're about to see the kickoff of the game, playing the mighty North Sydney Bears.
And he's off.
The ball's kicked, and Reece Martin comes off. Now, we haven't got the time clock up there, but I think that shows how short his stint was. They hadn't actually put the clock on the screen yet. Reece Martin will show in the stats as having played 1 minute for 0 runs, 0 metres, 0 tackles, 0 missed tackles, no errors.
Yeah.
But I thought that was just very humorous.
But also, if he was, if we had our old rugby league weeks out and they gave the ratings, he'd still get a 2.
But it's like you said, that's the baseline.
It
He
shouldn't
didn't do
be.
anything to detract from the 2,
It's a 0.
but he also didn't do anything to. I think they'd give him an NA for sure. But the context for that, for viewers who are uncertain,
Yeah.
is I believe you have to play 8 games, or you have to run out or
Yeah.
feature in 8 games in the ISP to qualify to play in the finals. And that was a case of Reece Martin getting his numbers up.
Dodgy.
I like it because it's dodgy, but I like it because it's hilarious.
Yeah,
It's just something you don't see much.
But he came in the place of another player as well, and obviously they're prepping up, and their first grade has gone to shit this year, so they're focusing on that as a sort of as a key point of their season. But it's I don't think it's fantastic just bringing him on and then taking him off. Like, just if you're going to play him, just play him.
We've all done it before.
Keep him on for 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
What's a couple of seconds?
Well, that's it. We've all done that in the local rugby union.
Yeah.
Me and you, we've filled in for lower grades when we needed to qualify for finals. It's been done. It's good fun.
I didn't even
Let
get
the
it.
boys play.
I couldn't get any lower than the grade I played. Time for your sack, Liam. Thank you for everyone to send the sack questions in. It was a huge sack.
Huge sack again this week, guys. Now, I've narrowed it down to 3, a battle of 3. Now, the first one comes from Cal McDonald. Speaking of Wanderers legends,
Yeah.
Cal McDonald. Ahoy, boys. Ahoy, Cal.
Okay, Cal.
There's more to it.
Yeah.
How do you feel Brownie's selections indicate his plans for next year? Outside of Ponga's shifts, Ponga's shift rather,
Yeah.
is one shift. Any other player movements show what their long-term futures are?
Yeah, look, it's difficult to see. This time last year, remember they were throwing Luke Yates around at hooker a little bit in training, and you think, maybe he's got a bit of a chance there. Look, I think with the injuries in key spots at the moment, I think we're doing more patchwork than anything. I don't feel like there's, they're testing the versatility of Ponga, but it's quite clear that he's going to be good anyway. He'd be good at wing. He would tear it up in attack and centre. He would, he's just one of those players. I think Connor Watson is interesting to see where he ends up because he's such a versatile sort of a player. I know they refer to him as like a Kurt Gidley-esque. So, he could find himself at fullback or at hooker or coming off the bench as sort of that extra half. What do you think, Lee?
I think you're exactly right when you've mentioned the injuries. A lot of Nathan Brown's selection choices and positional switches have kind of been forced on him by injuries to key players. So I think you can't draw too much out of a few of the chops and changes. Obviously, the Ponga one, which we'll come back to in a wee bit towards the end of the sack. But again, I think a lot of those shifts have been made on the basis of injuries. So
Necessity,
we can't...
yeah.
Necessity. That is the word I was looking for. We should have
Yeah.
made that the word of the week. I would never forget that.
That's next week's word of the week.
Ooh.
For all
Yeah,
you
I
playing
think
at home.
they've been out of necessity. So I don't think we can take too much out of them. But, we'll see. Next year, we'll see.
It's going to be interesting. Good question, Kel.
Good question, Cal. Another one, Daniel Turner. One of the areas that Dan's been critical of this year from our big men up front was the lack of aggression and fire-up that they've shown when one of the boys has been taken out illegally, particularly the Pong. We all remember the Luke Lewis late hit. I still can't hate Luke Lewis.
Yeah.
It was a terrible hit, but I still think he's wonderful. Do you think the aggression we saw from Barney when SKD was landed on with excessive force was a good thing, and should we see more of it?
I think we are missing a real enforcer. Not necessarily like we're missing a Grub. We're missing a Greg Bird.
Just a real dick of a bloke.
Well, yeah, because the players that people don't like playing against. I think Dan Safidi is our front enforcer, spearhead of a front rower, but also if you speak to him, he's one of the friendliest blokes in the world, and I think that comes across. I think you need someone that's really just a grubby player, like, and I think there was who's that player that plays for Brisbane with the one eye and the
Joshua Maguire.
Josh Maguire,
the rat himself.
Now, look, he's an ugly player that that you could walk up and you could absolutely deck him, and he'd probably enjoy it. That's just the kind of player he is. He steps on hands when people have their hands on the ground. He drops knees.
Isaac Luke, another great one for that.
It's just
little things like that.
You want someone that's aggressive and grubby in your side, because it seems like every other team has one except us.
It came up a lot with Kenny Edwards when he was at Parramatta, because he was an idiot, first of all, but also a grub. And I remember hearing from a few people saying, hang on, that's just the kind of thing each club needs. You need one bloke in your side who other teams are going to come out and say, well, we're not going to muck around with these guys too much because this bloke will king hit us.
Yeah.
Or something stupid, or kick us in the testicles, something like that.
You want a bit of starch. You want it like, if I put a hit on Ponga, I don't want him coming at me. You want a bit of because Ponga is just going to get targeted more and more, and I keep thinking that he's going to go to every game. I'm thinking he's going to go down with an injury because
terrifies me.
The way he attacks the line, he seems to, with a late jink, he pokes his nose through, and you see players again every week. You see at least a player doing his ankle or his knee, because when they poke the head through the line, players now, as part of the wrestle, seem to be collapsing back on the back of the calves. And if you've got two players up the top and then someone collapsing down the back of your knees, you're going to twist, and it's going to be uncomfortable. So late shots like that, working them over in the tackle, like they don't want Ponga to tear it up and attack, and they want to try to shut him down early. It's classic. It's been done for 100 years.
That's it. You need the enforcer.
But
every team needs an enforcer.
You want someone there that's going to grab them on the scuff of the neck and just say, hey, stop that.
Which I feel like Mitch Barnett could do. I've seen him do it a few times. He's, a rough and tumble boy from Wingham. He's got the tramp stamp. He could throw him.
He could throw him. And look, it was good to see him getting amongst it too. And like all the players that sort of stood up. But there was another time, I think during that game, that a player coming back onside knocked Ponga over, and there was no reaction.
Disgusted me. It was Corey Harawira Naira.
Yeah, the man with too many names. They couldn't pick one. They went, we'll give him 7.
Currently across the entire Penrith roster, you have that conundrum.
I don't want to see too much reacting, because again, they'll bait us if we react every time. So there's a bit of a balance there, but I do think we're missing someone aggressive in the forwards.
Well, that's it. I'm glad you brought up the balance, because there's a difference between being that kind of grubby enforcer and just being a dick.
Yeah.
There's a big, big difference, and I think you need to tread that fine line, and you see it particularly in the hockey. It's really interesting in the NHL to watch the role of the enforcers and see how enforcers operate and how they keep the other team in check, how they give their own team confidence.
Yeah.
They're just blokes going out to fight, but they've all got PhDs. It's more of an art than I think a lot of people understand, the role of the enforcer.
Yeah.
Which is funny that they're all such grubs, because it actually, it takes the right kind of person to know when to inject, when to go nuts on someone, when to hold back. So I think that's something we're lacking as a club, Dan, yes.
Yeah.
But again, you don't want to pick the wrong one, because then they'll end up like Danny Williams being suspended for 17 weeks.
Yeah, for hitting Mark O'Neill.
Yes.
That was 2004, I think that was. Anyway,
terrible. That was disgusting. He should have gone to prison for that. Or what was that bloke in the AFL 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. You don't want anyone to be active, but you want that fear. You want to know that people are accountable. That if they do cheap shots, they're gonna be held. And look, a lot of the time with the NRL now, and that was proof that if you engage with them after a cheap shot, that often the player that initially did the cheap shot get the penalty against. So you got to pick your times, and hopefully there's a little bit of awareness. But I don't know, maybe they received instruction from Brownie just to say stay out of it, and they just ignored that towards the back end of the game there. But
which is probably a good idea from Brownie, because like we said,
possibly.
not a club of fighters.
Not a club
at the moment.
No.
Now, last question from Justin Guion. Damn good selection headache to have regarding one Kalen Ponga. What does Brownie do when Watson comes back? Do we go Ponga back to fullback or keep him at 5/8 next? Justin wrote season, but I'm assuming he means next week, because I don't know what's happening next season.
Yeah.
To manage his ankle.
Oh, because Watson's ankle? Oh, Ponga's ankle.
Ponga's ankle. So Ponga,
yeah.
Brownie came out and said part of the reason why he's playing him at 5/8 in the front line, there's a lot less running. He won't be testing that ankle out as much. Do we think he needs more time to recover that? Or will the added running to Connor Watson debilitate his injury?
Well, you got Tony Ayoub coming out this week saying that, we filmed this on a Monday, but on tomorrow they're going to make the call whether he's going to be in the side or not, but he's training well at the moment. It's a possibility.
So yesterday, when you're listening to this, they will have made the call.
Yes.
So tomorrow for us, but yesterday for you guys.
Yeah, the future.
Meeting with the past and mingling beautifully to form the present.
And so it's going to be interesting to see what they do. And look, they have an opportunity. Do they keep Nick Meaney? I thought Nick Meaney had a
great game.
Well, he had a great game. He showed some great things. Dropping the ball in the tackle that led to the try. It's only because we won that game do we think he had a great game. I think there would have been a little bit more scrutiny on him if we had lost. Same as Ponga at 5'8", making 4 errors. 4 errors going for it as well. But it's still 4 errors. Didn't need to happen. It's 4 turnovers. It's going to be interesting to see. Did they think he did enough? Do they want him defending in that line? Because he will get targeted more. At fullback, he's a bit of a protected species out there until they kick to him and try to jam him. But I think at the start of the season, we did some great work around that plan of if Ponga gets it on the full to use those wingers as runners and just try to keep him out of harm's way. You've got to protect him. He's an asset. It's like a new car. You just don't want anyone to key it. So you park it way away from everyone.
Or you just don't do anything to warrant people keying your car. What are you doing to people, Naggy, that you worry every night about your car getting keyed?
I don't worry about my car anymore. It's a piece of shit.
It really is. I think personally, Ponga should go back to fullback and Watson. Again, having recently seen Connor Watson with no shirt on, ladies, look out.
Yeah.
He's much more robust looking than Ponga. I think he suits the front line a bit better. And throughout the year, one of the things Nathan Brown has really been working on are those small parts of 5/8 play, the passing, which earlier in the year, he had some problems with. They've really, really worked hard on those small effort areas, as is the jargon that we've been using. So William Nilliam all this season. They've been working really hard with him on that. And so I think because you got to work out where does the team detract, or where do you detract less from the team by the switch?
I think the key is to keep Connor Watson, Mitchell Pearce, and Kalen Ponga playing together.
The
in one
three
side.
need to be together.
They're the three that they're our spine. You can sort of mix and change it around. Whether you start one on the bench, probably going to be Watson if any of them, and if you work them in. But at the moment, you'd think you'd keep 7. Pearce, Watson 6, and then Ponga at fullback. We've had some great success with that through the season when those 3 players are playing well. They seem to be all, immensely talented in their own right, whether it be the kicking game of Pearce, the running game of Watson, and everything else with Kalen Ponga, which he just seems to keep improving out of sight. So I think as long as we keep those 3 on the field, and it doesn't matter what position they do, because I think they all complement each other rather well.
Just beautifully, don't they?
Yeah, it's good when it works, it works. And you get what you get, and you don't get upset.
Yeah.
And this season we're not quite upset, but we're holding. We're not quite at tears. We're at the sniffles. It's slightly where we might not want to be, but we're there. Now, Liam, we've got a game against the Sharks at Shark Park, a team that's notoriously had our number for the last few years. Minus probably that one game at the start of last year when we nearly got it off them. I think it was 12. 13. I think they had to kick field goal. Yeah, with
they did.
James Maloney.
But besides that, it's been all Sharkies.
It's been all Sharks.
Oh, God.
And at the beginning of the season, they came and reminded us how painful they could be towards us as well. Obviously, we're still reeling from that 60-0 game, whatever the hell it was. 60-0, yeah.
A plus, I think.
Yeah, awful. So it's a big game for us for a lot of reasons. It shows see how far we've come, see if we can score more points on them, and try to bridge that middle part. Score prediction, Liam, for the Sharks game.
Oh.
It's down there. They're playing well. David Fafita.
Andrew Fafita.
Sorry, they're twins. Andrew Fafita had that thing with apparently him and Shane Flanagan, and he's swearing and pointing at.
He's an idiot.
He's an idiot. He's an absolute goose. So maybe that might upset them a little bit in their preparation, and we might be able to swoop in. But we're coming off a win. We've beaten a good side in Penrith, and we could do the same against the Sharks. I don't think. I feel like they're not the side that flogged us in 2016. I think they've got a few more holes as well.
But they're notoriously good September grinders, and this is the part of the year where Cronulla really come into their own, and they start playing gritty, and they start wearing teams down and beating the hell out of them.
Well, look at their side. You got Chad Townsend, grand final winner. You got James Maloney. No, they got Matt Moylan coming in of his talent himself.
Valentine Holmes has finally become the fullback that we all thought he could be.
Josh Dugan out in the wing, I think he's playing as well.
Paul Gallen at 50 has announced that he'll be playing again, and he's in career best form.
Fafita, Woods, their whole team's stacked. And then they got Seguiara off the bench. How the hell are they getting all those players under the salary cap?
No one knows, Naggy. Cheating, probably.
Then also we've got Ramian and Edric Lee as well. So luckily we're just taking some of them back off. But
I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to go the upset, and I'm going to say it'll be the Knights by 19 points to 14.
Okay. So a
Yes.
5-point victory.
Yes. How about you, Naggy? What do you think?
Look, I'll hopefully we try to keep their score low. I think it might be going to go 20 points to 14. I think we're not going to get the win though. So
Still
that's
a
what it is.
respectable
And look,
result,
we'll-
though, given their position on the ladder and ours.
Yeah,
And their roster and ours.
I just think I think they're the better side. We've just named how good of a side they are, and I think they'll have to play particularly badly like Penrith, and we'll have to play out of our skin to play well. But, we'll have to do much of the same that we did against.
Stranger things have happened, though, Naggy.
Very, very much so, Liam. Thank you all for joining us for another week of the Joust. If you like our stuff, please find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and
All the pipes.
all the pipes. Are they all of them? 4? I think
Yep.
it's only the 5th.
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. That's the other way you can find us for all you people without
5 pipes.
without the fruit phones. So it's been a pleasure, Liam. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully the Knights can make it 2 in a row, and let's finish the season all together as one big happy family. Thanks very much. I like the handle. I can't believe you know this song. Did you know what this song? No.